Thank you, Heather. Hello, everyone. My name is Lenny Blue. I'm a community engagement specialist. I cover walks all across the United States. And so I just want to welcome you to our crop chat. Today's chat is crop beyond the walk. And we're going to share some ideas on how to be involved beyond your walk planning time and your walk day events, and how you can be involved with CWS, with your local agencies all throughout the year, and doing fundraisers and volunteering your time otherwise. So we're going to start today's crop chat with a video. This is an interview with our representative, Belinda Day, with one of her volunteers, Lori Barnhart. So Heather, if you'll go ahead and start the video for us.
All righties. Hello, Lori. How are you? All righties. Hello, everyone. So today I'm going to be meeting with Lori. We're going to be talking about kits and how to get engaged. So, hello, Lori. How are you today?
Hello, I am doing well, Belinda. How are you?
Doing great. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for being willing to speak on kits and CWS and all that we do with them. We know that you are super involved and we're so grateful. And we know you have a lot of insight to share with everybody watching. So let us get started. So I guess my first question, CWS has a variety of kits to choose from. We have hygiene kits, cleanup buckets, blankets, and our newest period packs, which I'm so excited for. How do you and your crop walk, your committee, and the women that you work with, how do you all choose which kits to do?
Okay, well, our walk just in recent years started doing kits again in 2018, and we decided to do the health kit mostly at the recommendation of Larry Jackson, who was our area representative from Church World Service at the time. And he mentioned that his walk on the west side of the state put together these kits, and he had a list of what they ordered online in the quantities that equaled a certain number of kits. I think 12 dozen, so 144. And we took that list and basically bought some things locally, bought some things online. Yeah. And our Friends of Crop funds were used to purchase those. So we had everything all set for the volunteers. We didn't ask them to bring anything that year. Then the year after that, we decided to do the school kits, mostly because I like to sew, and I'd had experience making those, and my family would do a Doing for Others project at the holidays when we would host. So I made the school bags, and then we kind of assigned everybody what to bring. So I was familiar with those. We had a couple sewing teams put together the bags. Anyway, that's kind of the start of those two things, and we're repeating the school bags again this year.
Okay, awesome. That is so cool. All these different things that you all have done and incorporated. That's awesome. So you talked a little bit about Friends of Crop, and that's how you got your kits. So is that the only way you go about getting the supplies for the kits? You know, we know that there are various groups like UCC and Thrive It Grants, Lutherans, business sponsorships who use their Friends of Crop account. Do you utilize anything else? And if so, could you talk a little bit about what your Friends of Crop account is and what it looks like for those who don't know?
We have a set of individual donors that contribute annually. The other woman I work with sends out the annual appeals, and then we also pursue additional funding. Last year we got a small grant from a family foundation, and we actually used those funds for our matching funds for our youth challenge. But we have submitted donation requests to local stores, some of the big name brand stores that I won't mention. But last year we did receive a gift card to be able to buy all of the rulers that we put into the school kits. This year we have 2 appeals out to that type of store, and we're waiting to hear back. We weren't so specific about what we were looking for, just assistance with, school supplies. And then as we get closer to the walk, we'll see where our donations might be missing some things, and then we'll buy those using the donated gift cards. We've also put out an appeal to the participating churches. And we had our team captains meeting last night, team captains rally, and I was overwhelmed with the number of donations that came in. I asked them to bring them early rather than bringing them to the walk so we could inventory and see where we were at. But really, people love to shop and give. So that's where most of the supplies have come from.
Okay. Awesome. Well, you were mentioning appeals. Could you give us like maybe a little rundown of what your appeals say for those who are like, you know what, that's a really good idea. What should we say? How do we make that appeal?
Yes, in fact, here it is. Just in terms of one of the stores, I mean, they have an official form, basically donation request.
Okay.
We filled it out with all the requested information. As I said, my husband, Bob, who's the coordinator of our local walk, he did a customized letter to the manager. We got the name of the manager, talking about Church World Service, providing the links, although it would be, the website that they could do research. We also included a copy of the previous year's walk flyer.
Okay.
And just to kind of give a Church World Service Crop Walk 101, and then describing the school kits, where they have been distributed in the past, and just that this is a local community-wide effort.
That is great. Thank you for even showing us that donation form. I personally didn't even know that we could just maybe find that online. So that's an awesome resource. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. So how do you recruit or convince your groups or your crop walk to make these kits? Is there something that kind of draws you? And I know you were talking about with some of the kits you've done in the past, because you love to sew, it was very easy to get groups together. But how would you convince maybe a group or your crop walk that's not really feeling doing a kits event?
Well, I'll speak about this year in particular, because this is the 3rd time we're doing kits. It is also the first time we're doing it since the COVID hybrid type of walk. Okay. So we're looking at this as a way to encourage people to come back to the main walk to participate in this enhanced experience. We do have some churches that are choosing to have their own walk in their own church's neighborhood, that sort of thing. But as far as convincing them to do it, we put the opportunity out there. And we, as I say, had a lot of enthusiasm with the donated supplies. And whoever is there on walk day, each participant will make at least one kit and keep going through until they're all done. As far as making the school bags, we have 2 groups at my church that do sewing. One that does sewing for another project, we make and give. And then I started another group called the Second Monday Social. And whoever wanted to come specifically to make the Church World Service school bags will come. So that's a twice a month opportunity to sew the bags. And there's a lot of enthusiasm for that. As I mentioned, there are 2 other groups also making bags. So yeah, it didn't really take much convincing.
That's awesome. I love how you realized that there was a need and there was something that you could fill, especially at the church, and you just
Yeah,
decided, hey, let's do this twice a month,
yeah,
per se, and
yeah,
anybody can come. That's awesome and very, very innovative.
yeah.
Very innovative.
Yeah, and I will also say I put together kind of kits to make the bags
Mhm.
where everything's already cut out and the edges are finished and it's all clipped together. I have the matching thread, and I do have some women who are sewing at home, and
Mm,
periodically they'll pick up the materials and sew at home and just drop them off. Um,
that's awesome. That's so awesome. That's great. Well, as we're wrapping up, one last question, because I know that there are walks that are looking to start doing these kits and incorporating them into their own crop walks. I know I have one. Um, so what does crop walk day look like with the kits involved? Could you give us
mhm.
maybe an example of what the day looks like and the order of things?
Yeah. What we did last time, we put the school kits together in the social hall of the church where our walk starts.
Mhm.
Around the perimeter is registration, and people are guided to the thank you gifts where they, depending on the amount that was raised, they'll get different levels of thank you gifts, and then they'll be guided to the kit making. They can choose a bag, and I just brought a bunch of samples. This is the fabric we're using at my church, and then just adding some colorful kid-friendly patterns. So
Awesome.
people will pick a bag that kind of catches their eye,
Mhm.
and there'll be attendants helping them select, 3 of the notebooks, an eraser, a pair of scissors, 6 pencils, that sort of thing. And then at the end, we have someone doing a bit of quality control, just checking that everything's in there, and then putting those kits into big boxes, and then we will take those boxes to the depot. And when we did this in 2019, we had about 258 or 285 completed
Wow.
kits. So yeah, and it was very enjoyable. I mean, people were excited about it. I remember one woman in particular, I saw her come through the line a couple times, and I said, well, we want to make sure that everyone has this opportunity. And she said, okay, one more. And she
Oh,
went through again.
that's great. So, do you guys, when you are doing these at your crop walk, do you all have a specific amount you're looking to have done, or is it kind of just whatever gets done gets done?
Well, people have asked in terms of sewing the bags, and
Mhm.
originally I was saying our goal was about 200.
Yeah.
We're now past that as far as the
Woo.
bags we have on hand.
Mhm.
And so we will make as many kits as we have supplies and
Okay.
as our donations and the school gift cards go. So
Yeah.
I'm expecting to surpass that amount. And we're going to be doing press releases to hopefully have some media coverage
Yeah.
there. Church World Service did do a kit story
Hmm.
on our 2019 school bag assembly. So that is online.
Yeah. We sure did. Awesome. So I know I said that was my last question, but I really am thinking prior to the crop walk day, where do you all store these materials? Because I'm sure it can be a lot, right? So where,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, that is a good question. And we were challenged last night after the team captains rally because, as I say, it was overwhelming. I'm looking at a laundry basket that someone had filled and brought in.
Wow.
I formerly oversaw fair trade sales
Ooh,
of coffee, tea, chocolate, that sort of thing
yeah.
as a mission fundraiser at our church. So I have some locked storage available to me. So I stashed everything in those nooks and crannies. We also have some things at home, some of the
Mm,
notebooks that I was able to find early on. And that is one thing I would suggest, especially with school kids. There is a sweet spot of shopping. It's just when the school supplies are available. Many of the stores have at least 1 or 2 items extremely low price. They're probably selling them at a loss, but that's
mhm.
to bring the shoppers in. And that's when I go in and I buy some of the more expensive items like the scissors and the notebooks.
Yeah.
So currently we're storing some things in our home.
In your homes? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but most of it is at our church, and we'll be bringing that on walk day.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to get a couple volunteers from my church to help me unpackage everything. So we have that prepared. And then I have a volunteer on site to do that for items that are brought in that day.
Ooh, okay. That's
There's
very
a lot of moving parts to
yes.
doing a kit while all the walk registration is going on. But we have a number of volunteers who come in for the day that are not on the walk planning committee, but just love to serve and love to help us out when we need an extra pair of hands.
Yeah, that is awesome. And even with what we've talked about today, yeah, there are a lot of moving parts, but you have been so helpful in letting us all know what those moving parts are and how to do this successfully. So thank you so, so much again, Lori.
I will also say I have created a lot of resources for this. And if I don't know if you want to let people know they can contact me or if I can send things, but like for the school supplies collection, something that all of our churches are using. So it's not, specific to any one group, and the school bag making instructions and my tips after having made several hundred, just where you can, add some finishing touches.
Yeah.
But I would be happy to share any of those ideas.
Oh, yes, definitely. And if you are so willing, if anybody asks, we could definitely give out your email or your contact information if you're comfortable with that, because those are some great resources. I'm sure I will definitely be reaching out.
That would be fine. And I have learned so much from other team captains and other, leaders of the things that they do in terms of publicity and recruiting. So it's a community that shares a lot. And that's, I think, what helps us all succeed.
Definitely, definitely. Well, thank you so, so much for all of that, Lori.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Do you have anything else to add before we sign out?
Let's see. I would just encourage people to look at the list of kits. You don't have to be overly ambitious. I do think it helps to maybe provide some of the supplies and maybe at least for the first try. So participants don't have to bring anything, but they'll have just an enhanced experience when they get to the walk start location.
Yeah, definitely. Good, very good insight. Thank you so, so much again.
You're welcome, Belinda. This was a fun conversation.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, thank you, Belinda, for that that interview with Lori. We appreciate that. And also, if anyone is interested, I'm sure we can get those materials that Lori had to share with everyone as well. So feel free to reach out to your community engagement specialist and let them know. Otherwise, we might have some when we send out the recording. We might have some links or some downloads for those. So just be on the lookout for that. So the next topic we're going to go to is restaurant fundraisers. So I'm going to share with you all, I have a walk in Aurora, Colorado, the Aurora Crop Hunger Walk, and they do a monthly restaurant fundraiser all year round. I think they might skip a month or two throughout the year around the holidays potentially, but they have a representative on their planning team who goes out and solicits to restaurants to see if they have a program to where they can have a day whenever their volunteers, whenever their participants can come in, and everything they spend, they get a percentage of their total bill that goes to their Crop Hunger Walk. So each month they submit a check to Elkhart, money that goes towards the Crop Hunger Walk. And at the end of the year, it all adds up. And I think I did some looking, and the last 3 years, so in 2021, they raised $1,422. In 2022, they raised $1,743. And so far this year, they're at $1,100 for the year so far. So it's a great opportunity to raise extra money for your walk. And this isn't a huge walk. I know a lot of times people say, well, you know, in a big place, a big walk, they have more representation, and they probably get more restaurants that will work with them. This walk does about $15,000 a year. And so if you look at that, they're making about 10% of what they pull in each year for fundraising through these restaurant fundraisers. What I like to do is share with you all what their flyers look like. So each month, at the beginning of the month, the representative will send out to all of their email list a brochure that has to be downloaded. Sometimes some of the restaurants will allow them to pull it up on their phone, and it gives the details of where the restaurant is, which restaurant, how much they earn. This one, for instance, at Panda, you can pull it up on the app, or you can bring the paper flyer in, or pull it up on your phone. They work with many chain restaurants, as well as local restaurants, mom and pop restaurants locally as well. So, just pardon me, go back to my page here. So this gives you opportunity to reach out to your restaurants within your community and see which of them would be interested in doing a local charity fundraiser for you. I'm going to stop sharing now and check in with Heather to see if our next participant is on yet. In the meantime, if you do have questions, go ahead and type those into the chat, and we will get to those with you.
Hester is on. Hester, do you have a camera you can turn on?
Yes, if I can find it. Is that better?
Looks like you're
There
coming
you
in.
are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry. My huge apologies. I thought it was 2 o'clock Central.
Yeah, time changes do that. It's not a problem. Don't worry about it. And I'll let Lenny and you have your discussion. Thanks, Hester.
Oh,
Excellent.
no,
Well, I'd like to introduce real quick, Hester Burry is with us. She is the development officer with North Illinois Food Bank. And we just want to chat with Hester about some ongoing opportunities that the food bank has there as well. Hester, whenever you're ready, if you would please share a bit about yourself, your connection to CROP and the North Illinois Food Bank, and our shared purpose mission.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored to be here. I have been with Northern Illinois Food Bank for 15 years, starting as a development officer, mostly writing grants, and primarily working with corporations, foundations, and community organizations. More recently, I have worked on more federal grants funded through local counties. We cover 13 counties at Northern Illinois Food Bank. And as everybody knows, there was a significant amount of federal money made available through pandemic relief grants. And so I have been managing those as well that came to the food bank. The mission of the food bank is to provide nutritious food and resources for our neighbors with dignity, equity, and convenience through partnerships and innovation, with a vision of everyone in Northern Illinois having the food they need to thrive. While we distribute food through 900 agencies, so that's member food pantries, soup kitchens, shelters, and group homes, and program partners, which are schools and youth sites, after-school youth sites, senior sites, and healthcare organizations. Our mission aligns with the Church World Service vision of a world where everyone has food, a voice, and a safe place to call home. Both organizations are committed to helping people facing food insecurity and needing help, feeding their families, while also trying to help them become self-sufficient. I also have been a crop walker for probably close to 30 years. Wow. And for the past 7 years have coordinated the Great Prairie Trail crop walk in Lombard, Illinois.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for your long time participation with Crop Hunger Walk. We really appreciate it. So tell me, how many food pantries does the food bank serve?
So the food bank has a little over 300 food pantries, again, across 13 counties. We serve the counties surrounding Chicago. Okay. So we are a member of Feeding America. There are 200 food banks in the Feeding America network. And every county in the country is covered by a food bank. So if people are familiar with Chicagoland area, Cook County and the city of Chicago are covered by Greater Chicago Food Depository. And then Northern Illinois covers the collar counties, and then out to Rockford, Stevenson County, and south to Kankakee. So a real mix of urban, suburban, and rural communities. We also, in addition to our member agencies having access to food that the food bank acquires, both donated food and purchased food, the agencies have access to that on an online shopping list, or they can come to any of our 4 centers and pick up additional food in between their deliveries. Nice. We also match those agencies with their local retailers. So we have over 500 retail partners, pretty much all the major banners, major grocery stores that you would shop at. And the food bank manages those relationships. So we assign a local store to a pantry in that community to pick up on a certain day. And the reason we do that is so that every store gets picked up at least 4 days a week, and only one agency goes to each store each day, so that people aren't kind of fighting on the donation. But it works really well. And last year, those donations from retail stores accounted for 28 million meals, which is about 34% of our total distribution. So, if you're in your grocery store, please thank them for what they do for food banks.
Absolutely.
So in addition to those agencies, we also partner with schools to deliver weekend backpacks of food, with senior centers to bring food directly to where seniors are living, and with healthcare organizations who screen their patients for food insecurity, and then we provide food at those locations.
Right. Okay. Wow, that's quite a reach. And great job pairing with the local grocery stores and getting that taken care of.
It's huge. But they want to, a lot of the grocery stores have what they call a zero waste policy or goal. So, they are happy to donate food that they can't sell, but that is still perfectly edible.
Right, right. So looking at that reach geographically, about how many people do you think that affects?
So we are currently on network. So our food pantries, our programs, we are currently serving an average of 490,000 individuals every month.
Wow.
And that is a huge increase. It's double the number we were serving before the pandemic. So whereas, you know, everybody knew the numbers of people that were facing food insecurity went up during the pandemic due to job losses, health issues, etc. Those numbers have not come down, because once we got through the pandemic, then inflation hit. And so people, you know, are really struggling with higher food costs, higher gas costs, and that is resulting in higher rents, higher utilities. I mean, cost of living, you know, has increased, and that has brought more people to our food pantries in need of help. I will also say that I think as a food bank and our network, we have done a good job, through really spurred by the pandemic, of making sure people know where to go to get food.
Right.
You know, we've done a lot more direct to neighbor marketing, and really tried to make all our programs and our food pantries accessible and welcoming, so that people aren't embarrassed to come and ask for food, don't feel looked down on. That's so important, you know. And I think a lot of people that, you know, maybe could have used the help before the pandemic started using services during the pandemic and have continued, because it's really a benefit to helping them feed their families.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
other reason that our numbers have gone up is because the federal support, the federal benefit programs that were in place during the pandemic have now pretty much all ceased. And the one particular example that people have probably heard about is that the emergency allocation of SNAP benefits during the pandemic was stopped in March of this year. And that's when we saw our biggest spike. So people that were getting SNAP benefits had their benefits pretty much cut in half after March. And so that has also caused, you know, a big increase in the number of people we're seeing.
Right. So it's my understanding that more than one crop hunger walk participates or helps give funds to the food bank. Can you tell us how many are represented?
Sure. Yeah, we are fortunate to be supported by 3 primary crop walks: the Naperville Crop Walk, the Barrington Crop Walk, and then the Great Prairie Trail Crop Walk. While the first 2 donate a portion of the funds they raise directly to the food bank, the funds from Great Prairie Trail, we select, this year it'll be 4 member food pantries. So they're members of the food pantries in our community. And the funds we raise are credited to those agencies on their account here at the food bank. So food pantries pay what we call a shared maintenance fee, almost like a handling fee for the food they receive. So the Great Prairie Trail Crop Walk decided to support the agencies in that way. So whereas Church World Service sends 1 check, we split it between those 4 pantries.
Gotcha.
And we know then it's going to be used for food, for access to food, which is what we want.
Right, right.
And I also pulled up a nice statistic. Since 1999, Crop Walk funds have provided almost $250,000 to the food bank, which is amazing.
That is. That
Yeah.
is.
So thank you for all your work that you do.
Yes, well, thank you for passing that work on down the line and making it local in your community as well. So you had this this idea for an event, and can you tell me about that idea and what the goal is that you're looking to do?
Sure. We really are proposing a volunteer opportunity at our the Food Bank's Geneva headquarters that would bring together the crop walk coordinators and team captains to learn more about how the food bank works with local food pantries. Mm-hmm. I'm fully aware that many crop walks support their local pantries, but aren't always knowledgeable about how the food pantries depend on the food bank and how the food bank depends on the food pantries. You know, we really, none of us could do it without each other.
Right.
For many years, the Crop Walk held an annual leadership day at the food bank in March to give coordinators an opportunity to network and share ideas and learn about fundraising, marketing, social media, and kind of about what Church World Service was doing globally. We have not been able to host that since 2019, although we are hoping that we can bring that back in March of 24. But I think that's really where the idea came from, that it was a great way to network with other crop walk coordinators and team captains and share ideas, you know, about how different walks do things. So we would like to do that again, hopefully in conjunction with the leadership day. But I will also say that you know, we welcome volunteers here at the food bank almost every day of the week. So we have lots of opportunities, both at our Geneva location, and then we have 3 satellite locations in Lake Forest, Rockford, and Joliet, which also have volunteer opportunities. So if local crop walks, you know, are interested in pulling together maybe their local walks to do a volunteer opportunity, I would suggest they contact me or check out the food bank website.
And so when you're talking about one of these opportunities, what is the benefit for the Northern Illinois Food Bank, and maybe some benefits to the crop walk that you can think of?
So for the food bank, we depend on our volunteers. Right. Last year, they donated about 130,000 hours of service. Wow. Across our 4 centers, which is the equivalent of 60 full-time staff. So we could not do what we do without the volunteers. Right. We have numerous projects, a lot of which involve kind of sorting and packing food so that it's ready to go to the food pantries. Mm-hmm. Donated food that comes in that just has to be relabeled. We get a lot of canned fruits and vegetables from Del Monte that have to be relabeled. They come in without labels. Right. We buy a lot of fresh produce in bulk because it's cheaper. And then we have volunteers bag that into 3-pound, 5-pound bags, so they're easy for the food pantry to hand out. So those are a couple of the main projects. And I think, you know, the other benefit is that it makes people who are volunteering aware of the need and the scale of what we're doing, and kind of just educates about the food bank network. For Crop Walk, I think, like I said, it gives leaders an opportunity to share stories and understand the impact of the funds they raise on their local food pantries, if that's where they designate their funding. And, you know, hopefully sparks discussion about how walks can maybe share ideas and work together.
Yeah. So as a coordinator of the local walk, do you see a benefit as well or your team captains getting involved in this, even walkers down to that level, participants being involved in this as
In
well?
volunteering? Yes, I
Yeah.
think so. You know, we have our monthly planning meetings from usually about May through October. But, you know, they're meetings. We tend to be stuck on figuring out logistics and fundraising and sponsorships. I think there is a benefit. I mean, anybody who's volunteered knows there is a benefit to kind of working alongside somebody that you may have known for years in one capacity, and you know, you get to talking and you learn something new about them, or you learn you have mutual acquaintances or something. So yes, I think there's a benefit to bringing the people who support our walk or any walk together in a different activity, if you like.
You would recommend to any of our listeners that are coordinators for their walk, planning team members, how would you suggest that they plan an event like this with their own local food bank?
So I would suggest they contact their local food bank, probably through their website, and see what volunteer opportunities are available, and maybe use that as a kind of networking opportunity for team captains or walkers, or even as a, you know, thank you celebratory after the walk get together, you know, either at, you know, at their local food bank or at a local food pantry. The benefit of the food banks is usually that we can accommodate more volunteers at one time than a local pantry can.
Right.
Pantries tend to you know, not have a lot of space for a big group of volunteers, and if you want that kind of group team experience, a food bank is probably a better option. Having said that, if people, you know, the volunteering at the food bank tends to be sorting and packing. If people want the experience of direct service to neighbors, then I would suggest they either look at a local food pantry, or our food bank has mobile markets, which are where we bring a truck of food to a parking lot or a school or a church and serve people directly from that. So that provides also a kind of a team opportunity. We usually use about 20 volunteers for those events, but also provides the direct service if people, you know, want to feel like they can see who they're helping and who they're serving.
Great. That's excellent. Thank you so much for sharing these ideas with us. I know, so my family and I in the past have worked at both the food bank level and the food pantry level. And it's always such a great feeling to be there. And you do build camaraderie with the other volunteers that you're working with, repacking from large, you know, bags of potatoes to smaller deliverable bags and things like that.
Right.
And
What area are you in? Where are you looking?
So that was in Kansas City, Missouri, Harvesters Food Bank there.
Great food bank.
And then as we've traveled across the country in different areas, we've volunteered either at serving meals or in local food pantries to take those deliveries of the larger, or all the products from the food bank, and just put them onto the shelf space for the food pantry and so forth.
Right.
So is there, I'm going to ask one last question. This is kind of off the wall. This is something that committee members, walkers, team captains can volunteer to do any time of the year. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. Yep. The food bank has volunteer opportunities almost every day of the year.
Is there a part of the year in particular that you would say is most needed? Just if somebody's saying
Good,
when is our time
good
most needed?
question. Probably, so we depend a lot on individual volunteers, you know, regular people that come week. Those tend to decrease a little bit in the summer months. People go on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And we also tend to get less groups, either church groups, corporate groups in the summer. So I would say the summer months, really, people always think that the November, December, Thanksgiving, Christmas is the busiest time. And while we distribute a lot of food at that time, you know, people are hungry year round.
Right.
And we work year round.
Right.
So I would say, yes, summer months or January, February, when everybody thinks we're done, and we are not done.
Right.
People eat
Excellent.
every day.
That's exactly right. So there you have it, everyone. Your summer months. There's a great way to start getting into the planning of your fall walks. Pull your teams together. Go do a good volunteer repacking at your local food bank, and kick off your planning. So Hester, again, thank you so much for joining us and sharing this with us today. I'm going to check with Heather to see if we have any questions that have come up.
There's one question, and it is something maybe Hester will be able to answer. And it is when the money goes from your walk to those 4 food pantries at the food bank, is it better that walks in Illinois do that for their food pantries? Can they get more from a food bank than if they give the money to the food pantry?
So a couple of things. One is that if the walk organizers or coordinators want to ensure that that money is used for food, then yes, giving it to the food bank as what we call agency credit for that specific agency is a way to ensure that. We have no problem with people donating directly to their food pantry, but you don't always know that it's going to be used for food. The other benefit, I think, is to Church World Service because they only have to write one check.
Yeah, that is a benefit.
but the other thing I will mention is that, you know, those food pantries that the walk wants to support need to be members of their local food bank. And there are some, you know, smaller pantries that are not members of food bank and therefore would not be able to get that benefit.
Is $1 to the food bank getting able to get more food for that dollar than $1 to a food pantry?
Well, it depends how the food pantry uses that money. I mean, we say that $1 to the food bank will acquire $8 worth of groceries. So that's kind of what a food pantry can expect to pay on average across a year for the food they get from us. I mean, they, you know, a walk could donate to the food pantry and they could use that to acquire food from the food bank. Or they could use it to go to their local store, but they would get less for their dollar at their local store, even at the lower end grocery stores.
Thank you, Hester. Lenny, this one is for you. Okay. Does Church World Service have a list of the restaurants that are kind of the go-to restaurants for walks to go and ask?
That's a great question. Seems like at one point when I first started, I saw something. Let me do some research on that. If not, we can start a list because I do know that I've started my own collection at one point whenever I was making these suggestions to a smaller walk. I know like McAllister's, well, as you all saw, Applebee's on that list of flyers that I shared. I think that all Applebee's will do that as well. So that's something we could do a little more digging into and be happy to share it out.
I know Culver's in Michigan,
Yes,
they're always
Culver's.
happy. They're happy to give anybody a night, any nonprofit a night, any school activity a night. So Culver's is a good one if you're in Michigan.
I could also add
go ahead, Hester.
from the Great Prairie Trail Crop Walk, we this year expanded our restaurant fundraisers thanks to one of our volunteers, and we are at Panera tonight, and we also did Portillo's and a local pizza place.
I'm a little jealous of Portillo's. I will say that is the last of the questions. And before you sign us off, Lenny, Lori Barnhart was a little stop and go on her video, but she did say that she would provide us with her different instructions, and we will get those from her CWS staff person, and then I will make sure every CWS staff person gets them. So please contact your CWS staff person if you would like those. Give me a couple days to get them. And then Lenny, perfect. I'll let you sign us off.
All right, Heather, thank you so much. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining us for this today. This wraps up our fall crop chat series. We'll be kicking them off again in the spring. So be on the watch for your invitations. And also we'll be sending out the recording for today's. And again, share this with anyone that you think will benefit from it. Share it with them even if you don't think they'll benefit from it. Might spark something. So
also,
anyways, yes.
Real quick, Lenny. Also, if you have an idea for a crop chat that is something that you think that you would like us to do, please let your staff person know, and they'll pass it to me, and we'll see what we can do.
Sounds perfect. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you all have a great day. Again, Hester, thank you so much for joining us, and even though we got the time wrong.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
We were worried. Thank you. Have a great day.